Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. That's from a guy, he's in his mid-50s, sounds like career military, and shares his story of his train wreck of an ex-wife and train wreck of a former marriage to a gal that he met while he was stationed in her country. As you can see, he's a guy who learned the hard way about being married in the military. And as all you guys are well aware from the stories I've done and countless guys that were in the service, all branches of the service has commented on, it's a bad idea. On top of that, however, you're going to see that in spite of what he goes through, this guy does have the last laugh, as generally being successful in a happy life is, in essence, the last laugh, and she goes back to where she comes from. However, you're going to see a lot of very important lessons in this story, which I talk about quite often, such as you can't turn an HOE into a housewife. You need to spend a long time getting to know your girl before you marry her. Pay attention to red flags. Once a cheater, always a cheater. You don't take them back, because if you do, that just gives them certainty and confidence that they can keep trying the same crap over and over again, and it will only get worse, amongst many other things here. So it's definitely an entertaining story, and a reminder, particularly for you young guys thinking about joining the service one day, what not to do. And of course, you'll get some laughs. And this guy knows his younger self messed up, and that's why he's sharing this to help guys out. So it starts off, hey SSM. I've been watching your channel for a while now. It is very entertaining. I will say this though, there are some things you say that I truly, with experience, do not agree with. It is important to get the truth out there though. Well, bro, I think at the end of this story, maybe if you think twice, you may agree with a lot more of what I have to say. The names are not real, and the dates are approximate estimates. Even the locations are very general. I'm not tying this to the real me at all. Feel free to share the story if you want, as it is written. Guys, I got no problem when you send in stories. Definitely use different names, different locations. Keep it vague. That way, you don't need to have it traced back to you, and that's okay. He says, so it begins. This story spans decades. I'll keep it to a minimum to the best of my ability. Growing up in New York, I had many, and I do mean many, friends. We were a tight group. We were R-pilled all through high school. All the things we did were boys only with girls on the side. That's the way we were. Girlfriends were just side chicks compared to the group. Where did I go wrong then? Yeah, I want you to remember this part where he said when he was in high school, he was, the several decades ago version of being R-pilled and had the knowledge then. Where did that go when he meets the girl who, well, you'll see. Well, I'll give you a clue. It's called Poontang, which changed his mind, which put him in a spell. Growing up in New York, I read that part. Though I don't feel I married my first wife way too young at 26, I do know I married way too early. I met her back in 1995 after my father, who worked with her, introduced us. I'm not going to give numbers to her. Being in my mid-50s now, I've learned that hard lesson of the difference between inner and outer beauty. Looking back now with my R-pill eyes, the signs were there. Hindsight is always 20/20. I'm old school and was brought up by very old school, so I learned a lesson learned is a lesson well deserved. I was separated for about 3 years from my last girlfriend. My father was not trying to hook us up, he just liked her personality and introduced us as they ate lunch at the same time together often and spoke as well. This story, however, is not about her. She's just the beginning of my blue pill, red pill adventure and how I now see through red eyes. One of the first red flags I got was that she was separated but not divorced when we got together. At that age, add that to an STD, which, as she said, was from one of his girlfriends and not hers. Sure. Couple that with a statement she made not 6 months in when she said, I've always been told I was a runner. After 3 years of tears, anger, and all that, we divorced and I moved on. So, okay, that's his first marriage, and he got married at 26. Not ridiculously young, but still, in my opinion, younger than you should, especially nowadays. And that didn't work out. You would think after this, okay, I'm not going to get married a second time, or I'll do a much better screening process the second time around. Nope. I've had a very few relationships in my life. The one in my college days, if I had not been too shy, I'd still be married to this day. Nearly 40 years later, I know that. She was beautiful both inside and out. Genuine, kind, considerate, and caring. She never asked for anything, but always showed that she cared. She was a foreign exchange student that I brought home with me for spring break. I loved her then, but never said it. She was well above me in all things. Poor self-image, that was me back then. She would always check on me and care for me when my college nights were too much. We never did anything of that nature. I felt like she was well above me for that. Live and learn. Well, maybe she was one of those rare ones that was really something else. Or the cynic in me was thinking, maybe she wanted a green card. I can't help it, I gotta say it. But anyhow, the one that got away, huh? Well, what you described here would have been an angel from heaven compared to the demon from hell that you marry. I'll move on to my current estranged ex-wife, a.k.a. Jezebel. I would call her Mrs. Lucifer. I call her the daughter of Lucifer. That's better. Right after boot camp, after tech school, I met Jezebel on my first deployment. Basically right out of tech school. Within 1 month after reporting from tech school, we were deploying. On our way to deployment, we did our standard workups and stopped off in her home country to conduct training and pick up the local forces to deploy with us. I met her on my first night out on Liberty. Wow, she was young. She was young, gorgeous, and full of life. And a smile that was infectious. We hit off that night with hers and my fellow friends. After returning to base, late and after curfew, the officer in command saw her jump on me, hug me, and kiss me. He let me pass with just a nod on his head. Yeah, he was probably rolling his eyes too. I dodged a bullet there. The next day after work, she was there to pick me up at the gate. I was happily surprised. The things we did over the next 2 days and nights were incredible. Unforgettable. Needless to say, I was 32 years old and she was 23, all day, all night, over and over. Yeah, I bet it was incredible. And you know what, my friend? You should have left it at that. End of story. Banging some local chick on your deployment. End of story. But remember, these gals in these different countries, they love to get themselves a soldier and have them get her pregnant so they can get a better life. I had to leave for a 4-day training exercise with the local forces, and when I returned, she was there. Right from the start. I stayed with her overnight at her place, and we were like rabbits. We did do things together, go out, see things, eat well, and have fun, but in the end, we were back at her place. So, yeah, I'm getting you're having your fun, you're young, well, youngish, younger than me anyway, but remember, you're being kind of love-bombed here, and there's usually a reason behind that. And again, are you really going to trust a gal who is that adventurous that quickly? In the end, I finally deployed with the local forces from her country. Email was very new back then, and after we worked that out, we kept in constant contact. I'm not lying when I say thousands of emails between us over a period of 3 months. Smack! Dude, too freaking much. I mean, God almighty, got other things going on. Thousands of emails in 3 months. Again, back to the love bombing. She is roping you in for a better life. We messaged at length about everything. Primarily, her lifestyle had to change if she wanted to have anything to do with me. Hold on here. Sounds like you're white knighting, my friend. Or the younger you is white knighting. Sounds like, you gotta change your ways, honey. Or I'm gonna save this girl. No, doesn't happen. She fully understood. Yeah, I'm sure she's like, sure, jackass, ha ha ha. She was a wild one and was into a lifestyle that just didn't fit into the military style of life. Well, you had no problem with her lifestyle when you were enjoying every square inch of her body back then, huh? She agreed and decided to move away from where she was and in with her mother. She did very shortly afterwards, and we kept in constant contact. Jezebel and I made plans for us on my way back from deployment since we had to drop off the local forces and we were going to be there. She booked a really nice suite at a very nice hotel, all on her dime. I know she did. I saw the booking details. Unfortunately, 9/11 happened and everyone got extended. We went into total communication blackout for what felt like an eternity. I got her emails randomly, but I could not respond at all. Such is the nature of things. I have no regrets about that, though. Revenge is a dish best served cold, and it was sweet. Eventually, I got communications back. Both Jezebel and her mother were beside themselves with all that was going on. The world was turned upside down after all. The eagle was let loose. I reassured them that all was good and that I was on my way. Nothing ever turns out as planned in the military, though, as we got redirected to India instead of her country. Now here's a part where he talks about his experience in India and trashes it based on his experience 25 years ago. So no offense to the Indian brothers, but this guy's sharing based on his experiences. Okay, and I'm not going to censor here. I'm just going to read what he had to say because I know you guys want to know now. He says here, talking about the dirtiest, most pollution-ridden country in the world. Sorry, that is my personal experience. Where we were dropped off on a coal pier, beggars on all sides, cops with canes whipping the beggars to leave us alone. Probably one of the saddest things I've ever seen this day. Kids begging for coins and getting hit by their mothers when they didn't immediately give it to them. I never wanted to hit a gal before, but then I would have been beating them to an inch of their lives. That will be important later. I never thought about having a kid of my own up to that point, and I was 32 then, but I was instantly resolute on some things, and guess what? So that's his experience in India 25 years ago in that particular place. We didn't go back to Jezebel's home country, but went straight back home after India. That absolutely sucked ass. She and I were still in constant contact. Though it wasn't our fault, we both apologized to each other. A lot was going on at that time. Her country definitely had our back. Both she and her mother had respect and understanding. They were more scared than anything else, scared that the U.S. was going to nuke Afghanistan and everything else. I reassured them that though that was what was deserved, it would never happen. Wishful thinking. I got to the home port in November, and we immediately made plans for me to come and see them and her mother for Christmas. I did and set off for the future. From here, I will skip ahead except to speak about her mother. He says, remember when I said that I had many friends growing up? I had also the same amount of mothers. All of us respected and listened to them as they were our own, and they loved us as if we were their own sons. I've been grounded and punished by my friends' mothers more than my own. Interesting. For some reason, it just hurts more. They taught us how to respect others, ourselves, and our girlfriend as much as our mothers did. It does take a village. There's a larger story there for me, with my best friend's mother who taught me how to be a good man. A story best saved for my sons. Nothing dirty, just a very good and wise woman. Well, I'm going to stop you there and say that at the very least, when it comes to relationship advice, pickup advice, dating advice, you never take it from a woman, ever, okay? Occasionally, I've known some to have tidbits of good information here and there, let's be fair here, but in terms of because a lot of them they say they want the nice guy and all that, but then the guy acts that way and you see what happens to them. The saying is you ask a fisherman how to catch a fish, you don't ask a fish how to catch a fish. That's that little line there. Anyway, he says, Jezebel's mother had to be the most beautiful, smart, intelligent, understanding, funny, practical woman I'd ever met. Honestly, there were more adjectives, but I won't bore you. You get the gist of it. She had 3 kids, with my future wife as her youngest. She was divorced, but all her children respected and listened to her for the most part. Perhaps 10 years older, I would have been a happier man with her by my side. I'm honored to have known her, even though while she was alive, enough said. He says, within a year, not really, I had Jezebel fly over to live with me. Smack! A year? This is the girl you were just that hot, sweaty weekend, wherever that country was, and now all of a sudden you're talking all the time and you're having her come over after a year? Dude, you'll see. We still carried on like rabbits. No shit, that was the way she got your attention. But we started to settle in. While she lived with me, I still deployed 4 months at a time, twice a year. That was not easy on her, and I knew it. I flew her back home to stay with her sister during a deployment, and on my way back from deployment, I went to see her and proposed. Smack! He says that was about after 18 months. Dude, are you kidding me? This is not a type of girl that you propose to, and let alone how many actual days have you spent with her? And I don't care about all the emails and all that. You gotta spend some serious time. And I know you know that, but let's be honest here. You played right into her hands. She roped you in with the poontang, and then there you go. And now I know that eventually this leads to you having your sons, which is awesome. And I know how this story ends, but still, God Almighty, could save yourself a whole lot of pain if you had a lot of this knowledge back then. There was a lot more to this, but I'll take the smack. She accepted after a scary set of fireworks. Of course she accepted. She was planning on this. I mean, a fight with her sister's boyfriend and more. Not a red flag from her, though, yet. Her sister's boyfriend is an abuser. He was jealous and just wanted to fight because I was a better man. She accepted, but both her mother and father started to warn me about what I was doing. Are you telling me her parents were warning you about getting involved with and marrying their daughter? What the hell does that say? Right? And you had such great respect for her mother. But nope. Under the spell of the pussy. I had a very good relationship with both her mother and father. They respected me and what I was doing being in the military, and I honestly loved her mother as my own mother and respected her father. I did not listen to common sense, even at 35. So we got married. I proposed at 32, but we got married when I was 35, so 4 years in. Okay, at least he had a few more years in, but still she was able to put on the show, and she put that ring on her finger. That was all background. Jezebel was not a good girl when I met her, not in any terms. She was doing many things that were wrong, drugs and more. I saw something better in her, though. Smack. White Knight. What happens to White Knights? I can save this girl. I can change this damaged girl. The only thing that you're going to get, I guarantee, is misery. She already lost a son to her father. That broke her, but not totally. She knew she was better. She wanted to be better. We spoke on that at great length. Even with all that happened, I still know that is true. So she knows she's damaged and effed up and says she wants to be better, but that's one thing to say and to do. After we got married, I got deployed. It was supposed to be a 4-month deployment, but as always, things go down. I got deployed for 9 months. So 9 months she's by herself. I get that's tough. My sister is married to a Navy man, and those two have loved each other since they started dating in 1998. And my sister's there taking care of my nephew, and it's hard. And that's why a lot of people, they support each other. They live in neighborhoods with a lot of military folks and everything like that. And I truly do. I can't believe I'm saying this, because you guys say, SSM, you're so naive. My sister is loyal. I can say that. But anyhow, it's hard, and I know that from what my sister. That's why my sister quite often goes home to visit family on my side of the family and his side of the family and all that. But still, it doesn't justify the shit that's about to happen. Don't get me wrong. I know being a military wife is not an easy thing. It can actually be very lonely. While I was with her, I deployed 75% of the year. I don't even know how I would have done that under the circumstances. But there we were. There were no misunderstandings about who I was and what my job was. While I was out of the country, she left and went back home. She hooked up with someone else after some time and moved in with him. There you go. You finally get married. Your first deployment, now she's hooking up with somebody else and moving in with him. This is the time where you end it. Remember how you said you had that R-pill knowledge back in high school and all your boys were R-pilled and all that? That goes way out the door with some sweet young pussy. And her parents warned you about her and all these other things. You can't turn an HO into a housewife and don't get married when you're in the military because you get deployed. Right here. This is when you should have cut her off. Done, it's over with. Deal with the hell that is the divorce. It can be done. But no. No. What does a man do when that happens? He screws everything he can. And I most certainly did. The bigger the tits, the better. I screwed a lot in only 3 days. After that, I got to calling her to figure out what was really going on and finally got her back. Got her back. Smack. Now I want to point something out here. Gentlemen, you're going to see as okay, she's cheating on him and moved in with her lover. He's taking her back after doing this. This communicates to her, oh, I can cheat on him, I can do this, I can do that, and he'll still take me back. And the respect level drops. And then eventually that creates more bullshit. And if a guy takes a girl back and puts up with it, the respect level drops again. And more bullshit. But you'll see, am I accurate in my views here about the bullshit or not? You'll see. We got back on track and I had her move in with her father while I was getting ready to transfer to my next command. He says, okay, SSM, there are a lot of smacks coming up. Really? In the end, you have to realize the ends justify the means. Remember that. What happens now is over an 8-year period. After all, remember that there is an end. That end has lasted 11 years to today. Pick a future day. That is today. I know how this ends, bro. I moved to my next command, and after a few months, my wife joined me. This time I was back in the States working out of DC, a far cry better than where I was before. It was a joint command, and life was, to be honest, a luxurious compared to where I came from. I still did travel, but it was always at least business class and to far better places. Things were rocky to start, but that went away before too long. I got settled at my new command, and my wife started working with the thoroughbreds. Where she came from, she trained thoroughbred horses and even ran cattle by horseback across country. She knows everything about horses, training, and runs them. Things were going okay for about a year when she just started to hang out more and more after work at her local worker bar way down the road. What could go wrong? She's a married woman. No. You're spending time with me. That did not settle well with me. It got to the point where she spent more than she made. We got into a fight over money, the worst kind, and she attacked me. Hold on. She got physical with you? Remember I told you about the respect dropping down and there's more bullshit? I think at that point I was just done with it all and called 911. The police came, took pictures, handcuffed her, and took her away. Remind you that she is a foreign national, not an American citizen. We went before the judge. I got a restraining order, the house, and the SUV, and she got the car. And then she was out. I have no idea what she was up to at that point, and I still don't know what she was not in a good place. I kept on with my military job and traveled quite a bit. Okay, so now you're apart. This had been the point where that's it, you're over with, divorce, all that. For those in the military that know joint commands, know that life is not bad. My life was certainly not bad, quite to the contrary. 2 days after an exceptional trip to Thailand, my wife showed up on my doorstep. She showed up on your doorstep in DC or showed up on your doorstep at a hotel in Thailand. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. I was flabbergasted. Yeah, it's in DC. I was flabbergasted. I like that word, and it is true. She looked haggard and worn out, like her life was rough to her. I have no idea why, except the fact that I knew for some reason I still loved her. I let her in the door. Smack! Oh, okay, she'll change now. We got to talking, and I learned that she was homeless and living out of the car I gave her. All her stuff was in it. I let her stay in one of my rooms on a blow-up mattress. After a period of time, we got back together. Smack, smack, smack. Remember the disrespect level? Down to a whole new level. So you see multiple times now she's pulling bullshit. He takes her back. Bullshit gets worse. And we ain't even done yet. You see, guys, why I share these stories to give you examples? And before you start saying, not my girlfriend, not my wife. Oh no, she's an angel from heaven. Oh yes, your girl, your wife. You start acting like a weak bitch and putting up with her bullshit. Guys, I talk about reality on this channel. If you don't like it, leave. I get new people all the time, guys, and people bitch at me. It says here, now SSM, you need to know that I believe in God. That is important from here on in. That is paramount to all that follows. You nor any of your followers have to believe. You just need to know that I do. From here on in, my prayers were constantly granted. No matter how bad it got, no matter how dark it was, I got exactly everything I prayed for. I just had to be patient and believe, and I did. I respect people's religious faith, but a lot of times people have the faith that this and all the awful shit was part of the Lord's plan. When in actuality, that makes people feel better and justify some of their bad decision making. There was a lot of bad decision making, my man, and you can look at it like that's the Lord's plan to make yourself feel better. But you know, the saying is, you learn all these things in channels like mine to help you make their better decisions. I don't know. I think of the saying, God helps those who help themselves. Help yourselves by taking the right actions, so the more self-inflicted shit doesn't have to come your way. But, I know this ends, and you know we'll get there. But I have to mention that. I can't just let that part slide. Otherwise, people are going to just keep doing self-inflicting, boneheaded things and say it's part of the plan. I know I'm going to piss off some religious folks here. I really don't mean it, but I got to say that. We had our first child, my first son, after some time, 8 total painful miscarriages, more for her than me, but it hurt just the same. I joined the military late in life, but when I did, I truly believed that where I was supposed to be. After seeing my first son, I knew I had a greater purpose. Well, bro, I'm so happy you had a son. Not with, unfortunately, with her, but I'm happy you have a son. Everything was finally coming together. Things were crazy for a bit. Shocker. While she was pregnant, emotions and all. That's actually a mild way to say it. Things were psychotic while she was pregnant. Gee, I never would have thought that would happen. I had to leave on occasion to get away from being berated to death. Don't judge yet. More on that later. Regardless, it was not an easy roller coaster. Dude, there was no way in hell that I would think that she was going to be a joy while she was pregnant, given her behavior and how she treated you before. After my first son was born, things got, well, incredible. If I can say anything about my ex, is that when she was good, she was great. When she wasn't good, though, she was a venomous snake. We are not at the snake part as of yet. For the next 4 years, life was bliss. I got new orders and we went overseas once again. She was not happy, but then again, she was. For me, it was another day at the new job. Doesn't make a difference where you are, it is just a job. Pick a country, any country, it's all the same. I've seen so many countries over and again over the years, it just doesn't matter. 2 years after we had our second child and last a son. Here we go with the sirens. Born overseas, I was back to deploying 4 months, twice a year though. Let me tell you something. There's nothing worse than coming home to 2 young children who don't recognize you or know you and are scared of you as a stranger. Your own sons. That hurts. Another story altogether, I digress. While I was deploying command, everything seemed well. She had friends that I knew. Wives of my friends I deploy with. We kept in constant contact with as much as we could. I saw only one fleeting red flag, and that is a fleeting at best. However, we decided to stay overseas, and I transferred to a new command that was shore duty in the same country. This is where things go to hell in a handbasket. There was a lot of handbaskets in hell prior to this, my friend. You would think that the wives only cheat when their husbands are deployed. That is not always true. When I transferred and finally got home, my wife decided that she and one of her girlfriends, believe it or not, an on-base doctor, were going to take time off and go to her home country for a break. That was actually reasonable. I could handle the boys, and after being gone for a while, it was only fair. Had I only known. My friend, once a cheater, always a cheater. And all the other things that you let her get away with and kept taking her back, of course she's going to pull bullshit. When she got back, she was not the same person. When she came back, she showed her true colors, who she really is. She was upset at being a parent, at being a mother, at being a wife, at being overseas and being a military wife, at everything. She chose all that. She threatened to take my boys and go back home with her. Oh, hell no. You can leave me, bitch, but you ain't taking my kids. That was not going to happen. After a bit, I found out what she got up to when she was away, hooking up with her tattoo artist friend that tramp stamped her. Surprise, once a cheater, always a cheater. What I tell you about that respect level? After many fights and fair talks with her mother, I sent her away to work on a horse ranch in the U.S. in the middle of nowhere. She got to do what she loved, and I got away from her with my boys. Why didn't you divorce her? Why didn't you divorce her a long time ago at this point? I mean, really? I started divorce filings. Okay, thank the Lord. While she was away, but military regulations have a way to screw things up. So I've heard. As she is dependent, I could not deny her access to the home or the kids. After 6 months, she returned home with her tail between her legs, insert a smack here. I'm tired of smacking you. It's not doing anything. I know you know now, but I'm tired of smacking the younger you. Now remember, at this point, there is a method to my madness. I mentioned God before. This is where everything comes to head. Also a reminder that when she was good, she was great, especially with my boys. Besides being a shitty-ass wife and a poor mother, she never treated them badly. She always made sure they had a great birthday when I was gone and reminded them that I was there. Well, that's great and all, but by her going ahead and cheating on you and all those other things, she's cheating on them too. Let's keep that. So she's not such a great mother. The end. Yes, I took my wife back after a few months. I already got a smack for that. She slept on the couch by herself with 1 or 2 kids, but eventually I took her back. I'll give her this, she worked for it. She had a lot to prove, and she did. She helped many servicemen transition over to new commands and into the country we were in. No pretending she did it. Define helping servicemen. I can't help it, I gotta say that. After almost 2 years, Jezebel fell into the same cycle though. She made friends with other girls from her country and locally that proved to be the beginning of the end. Let us call them what they were. SLUTES, WHOREs, you get the point. Jezebel got herself arrested on base for assault on the husband of one of her SLUT friends because he was cheating on her. Turns out that SLUT was cheating on her husband all along too. They were all the same. I had to defend Jezebel in military court. That was just the beginning of everything that was to come. This part of the Lord's plan here, all this suffering you're going through, again, I don't mean to insult you or your faith here, but I gotta, again, you learn what not to do, guys, so you don't have to have through all this pain. And there could be another plan for you. Good Lord. She got probation, but in a foreign country that means a lot. She kept up her antics, not coming home, going out and getting wasted, and screwing everything she could. Of course she kept doing that because she knew there were no consequences to her actions, that you were always going to take her back. See, guys? At 38 years old, she was screwing 19-year-old kids, no doubt for money. You have to understand that I cut her off. I was full-time military on a military base with 2 boys I had to take care of. I also had bills to pay with a wife who was going bar hopping every night and not coming home. Remember that whole being a good mom thing? Bullshit. She should be home with her boys. That is not what a loving mother does. Okay? I don't care how bad she treats you bad. She's treating the boys bad. I prayed every night for relief and for my boys. No lie. Every single night she was gone, which was every single day and night for over 3 months. No exception. Outside of my command, I was respected with base security as I had dealings with them as well as part of my duties. Guess what happens? I got a call from base security saying my wife was arrested on base for assault on her boyfriend. You know, aside from all this, what she's doing to you and your boys, guess what? Obviously, word's getting around about your wife, and she's humiliating you in front of everyone else. Security knew me, and in turn, they knew my wife. Oh, I'm sure they did. This was not a pleasant conversation for them. I was actually expecting it, though. They had no idea what to do. So I left her there as it was just after midnight. There was no way I was waking up my boys for that shit. We did go down to security around 0700, but I refused to release her with me. Well, good. Let her ass stay in jail for a while. They released her on her own and advised her to not go home. Within a month, the military shipped her ass back home, and that was the last we ever saw her for 11 years now. Praise the Lord. That's the part of the plan I like. Oh my God. After all that shit. But thank God you haven't seen her in 11 years. And she can't mess up with your... their boys lost their mother regardless. And that's sad for boys. But then again, look at the train wreck she was. She had a choice. Transfer with me to my new command in the U.S. or go back home. She chose home without her kids. There you go. Back to the great mother thing. She abandoned her kids. But you know what? The boys are better off without her. That is what I prayed for. Not to be separated from my boys. I cared for them. I loved them. And I cooked and cleaned for them. She was gone. There's so much more to this story. There are a lot of holes in the things that she didn't say. That is just a very brief synopsis. So what is the moral of the story? Know your situation and bide your time. Evil will always present itself over and over again. Have your plan, stand by it no matter what. If you live as you should, then all things will come to you as you want and desire. It's all a matter of time. Be safe and be true. Well, I have a different moral to the story, my friend. I agree. Evil will always present itself over and over again, and have a plan and stand by it. Sure. But here's my moral of your story. Let's see. Let me get the calculator out to add all this shit up. You can't turn a hoe into a housewife. You don't rush into marriage. You don't get married in the military. Once a cheater, always a cheater. They cheat on you or disrespect you, any combination of those. You kick them to the curb because you take them back. There'll be more bullshit. I can go on and on here. There's so much shit in my head, I can't get it all out at this point. But you get the point of it. So I'm so happy you're rid of her. I'm happy now that It's just you and the boys, and you're an awesome dad, and you've learned from this, and you're sharing your experiences here. But my friend, there are so many things that had been done differently, you have saved yourself a whole lot of suffering. But at the end of the day, you can say, hey, I love my sons, and they're wonderful, and I wouldn't have them if I wasn't with that train wreck. So I do get that, really. And I don't mean to come off like a dick, but I have to say this. And this channel is to help guys not go through hell and not make the mistakes that so many of us do, share the stories to learn from. So I gotta say these things, man. But I strongly believe at this point in your life, you've learned from the mistakes that when you're younger. We all make mistakes. I fucked up a lot when I was younger, and I'm not going to say I don't make mistakes now, but I sure as hell try to learn from them. So I really do hope that with the right words, of course, you can teach your boys to not make the same mistakes that you did, and then that will work out well. So I'm sorry you went through all that shit. Now, let me make this clear. Your wife, your ex, is an a-hole with a giant motherfucking A, and you know, and is an awful person and evil. Absolutely. But, you know, you made your mistakes too in enabling her behavior. And I want to point out, I forgot, that her parents warned you about her. And obviously the white knighting, I can change this girl. No, you can't. So there's lots of lessons in this story, guys. And I don't want you to give him a hard time in the comments section. He made mistakes, but I think he's learned a lot. But remember here, a lot of that stuff could have been avoided, and that's why we share the stories to help each other out. So, bro, I wish you well in your career and your life. I hope your sons are doing great, because you're obviously a great dad and did what you had to do, and you still do for your sons, and that's when people couldn't ask for anything else. And I think your kids are probably very appreciative they got a great dad. And I hope like hell you never hear from that witch ever again. She's probably dead for all you know. And you know what? Good. The world could do without less assholes. So, but anyhow, bro, I appreciate you sending in your story. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Let this guy know what you think. Feel free to be honest, but let's be respectful. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.